So, I've been back from Navarra about a week now. Thought it was probably about time I did a bit of an update on how it went. So, as you may be aware, on the surface of it, it didn't appear to go particularly well. It was disappointing not to partake in the main race. It was an exceptionally difficult decision to make. It wasn't one I made lightly or quickly, indeed. And anyone who knows me knows I'll deliberate on these things. But I had to make a decision reasonably quickly, sort of within an hour or two of finishing the last chance qualifier race on Sunday. So I'll summarise this bit first, and then I'll sort of go back and take you through the few days that we were there, because there's obviously more to the story than this bit. So yeah, we had the last chance qualifier race in the morning on the Sunday. I went into it not really knowing what to expect. I had slowed down a bit the Saturday afternoon. I was feeling tired, but I guess I was hoping with the days, a night's rest in between, I would sort of recuperate my energies. Long story short, in the last chance qualifier race on the Sunday morning, I was even slower than I was on the Saturday afternoon in the heat race, and I just didn't enjoy it. The way I described it to my team when I got back in was I was just trying to get my money's worth out of the last session on a track day, kind of just doing it for the sake of it. I was absolutely spent. When Rob met me in the collecting area, he said, "How are you?" And I said, I'm done. I'm absolutely done. I think I knew, despite qualifying for the main race, I knew that I wasn't fit enough to partake. I was afraid of getting lapped on the last lap, which I think I would have, there was another person who would have probably been doing similar lap times to me did get up. I didn't want to be getting involved with someone's last lap battle. That may be a very honourable decision, but probably more realistic. I just knew I wasn't fit enough. I knew I wasn't gonna do myself justice. I wasn't going to enjoy it. It was going to be grueling. I risked pushing myself too far and having an accident or causing an accident for others. Obviously all hypothetical and probably wouldn't happen, but all these things play in your mind when you're making these decisions. What it boiled down to in the end, the last thing, is that I didn't want to let the three guys, so John, Rob and Ian, who were a fantastic makeshift team, I didn't want to let them down, having made the effort and having supported me through the whole thing, and I didn't want to let anyone who's following me down either. At the end of the day, that was the only reason left in my mind to actually do the main race. And I thought, that's not the right reason. If all the other reasons are saying no, as in my personal reasons, not being fit enough, etc., I thought that is not the right reason to race. So anyway, that's why I chose not to race. That's probably the worst bit. Unfortunately, there were a lot of ups and downs over the few days leading up to that. So take you through from the beginning. So we had 2 days testing and 2 days racing was the event format. We had 2 40-minute sessions on Thursday and 3 40-minute sessions on Friday for testing. I don't think I've ever done 40-minute sessions before. I think they've always been 20 minutes. And I was out for most of them. I think I probably did at least 2 15-minute runs in each one. So I was out for at least half an hour of the 40 minutes in each session, pretty much. Bar one, I think, but we'll get to that in a minute. So the first day, wasn't feeling great, if I'm honest, but it was our first chance to get out on track. So really, that was the purpose of the first day, just to learn my way around the track. I didn't finish last in any session, but I was I think second from last in every session on the Thursday. I think my best time on the Thursday was a 2:02. But got the most out of the track time that we had on Thursday. Did improve. I think I probably was like a 2:06 or something first few laps, and down to a 2:02. But not great lap times, but at least going the right way and starting to learn where the track went. Thursday felt a lot better. Got a proper night's rest. And hit the ground running, really. I think first session on Thursday I was already down to 58, 1 minute 58. So I sort of took 4 seconds off straight away, and I think by the end of the day I was down to about a 150. I might have been a 156, certainly 157s. May have even got a 156 by the end of the day on the Friday. So all in all, going the right way. I actually was starting to work my way up the order a little bit as well, so I sort of was into the 30s positions rather than the 40s, which was good in some of the sessions, not all the time. But anyway, heading in the right direction, took loads of time off, started to learn the track a lot better. On that Friday, though, it wasn't all plain sailing. I think it was during the first session in the morning I came back in, having improved, and I was really happy. But when on my warm down lap coming in, I could feel something in the front wheel just wasn't right. It felt like a brake disc or pad, they were rubbing at a certain point in the rotation. With a bit of deliberating, we ascertained that actually it was at least one wheel bearing was gone. So not a complete disaster, because we could switch the dry tyre over to the wet wheel, which is what we did. And we, between Johnny and Rob, we managed to find a couple of bearings and replace them. And Rob actually went out later on to buy some. Need to get this story in the right order. So anyway, yeah, got the other wheel in, managed to keep going. Then I think I did one session on that other wheel, and I could feel it almost instantly. Like by the end of the first session I'd done on them, I could feel they were going too. So we did lose, I think, the second half of that session. But as I said, between Johnny and Rob, they managed to get a couple of bearings on circuit, which we got into the wheel and were able to carry on. And Rob actually drove and found a bearing manufacturer who was selling them at a slightly inflated price. But anyway, we managed to get 4 replacement wheel bearings and sort them all out. So it did disrupt the day a bit, admittedly, but Friday was really good. Everything going in the right direction. I think I got down to a 56.5. Saturday, raced first competitive day, went out in free practice in the morning. I must say I've been working with Ian, who is an extremely experienced race mechanic, and we've been working on setup. We tried a couple of different sort of experimental changes in free practice on Saturday morning. Didn't really feel any better necessarily, and I wasn't going any faster, just sort of similar pace. So we went back to the last session I think we had on Friday. So next was qualifying, sort of midday-ish on Saturday. Went out and did a run. I think it's only 20 minutes long. Went out and did a run. I didn't feel too bad. I think I did about 6 or 7 laps, and it felt like I was getting better. Anyway, I came in just sort of, I wasn't exactly clear from the pit board what I'd done in terms of lap time or position. Came in, checked with the guys what the time was, and it was only 0.2 quicker than what I'd done in my best lap time so far. So it was like a 56.3, I think it was 1:56.3. So I just thought, I'm not happy with only a 0.2 improvement. I need to make more of an improvement. I wanted to qualify obviously as best I could for the heat. So just went out. I thought I could sneak in one more lap at the end of qualifying. And I did. Left pit lane with about 2.5 minutes to go. Just got back round in time. I think I had 7 seconds left on the clock as I crossed the line, so I knew it was an all-in lap. Anyway, I felt really good. I really threw myself at it. A bit too could argue a bit too literally. But yeah, the first half of that went really well. I was a second up on, so the guy ahead of me, I think, was on a 56, the low 56, which is sort of roughly where I was at as well. I was basically a second up in the first sector and then another second up in the second sector. So I was 2 seconds quicker halfway round, which even if I'd have just matched my best times for the second half of the lap, I would have probably done a 54, low 54, something like that. Anyway, I can't remember if it was in the, well, it was turn 12. I don't know where the sector line is there, but basically there's only 3 corners to go on a 15 corner lap. It's the second of 2 tight lefts. And yeah, as I say, everything was feeling really good. I just wanted to finish the lap off, and I chucked it in, and the engine case caught the curb. So it immediately just lifted the front. So the bike just went literally dead straight. Nothing I could have done about it other than ensure that I wasn't leaning the bike over that far. So yeah, it was a real shame because I was on a really good lap. I'd love to have finished that lap and not crashed, obviously. Fortunately, the bike really didn't sustain much damage. The main thing really we had to do, it's got a couple of scuffs on it, but the engine case protector and the crash bung took the brunt of it, and just mild scratching and nothing serious really. So yeah, the main thing really was to pull all the fairing panels off and get all the gravel out. So the bike wasn't too bad. Anyway, so it crashed. No injuries. The gravel there is ridiculously deep. It's like walking through treacle. I had to walk about 100 yards out of the gravel, which I don't know if anyone's ever done that in leathers and boots. It's pretty tiring. And if I'm honest, I think that took the last of the energy out of me, was that crash and having to walk out from the gravel. This is all in hindsight. It's easy to say, because there's obviously adrenaline going at the time. Anyway, at least even if I hadn't completed that lap and I crashed, I was happy that I had some pace, and it was a silly mistake, but one I can learn from. At least I know that I know really that these engine cases on these bikes are pretty low to the ground, so I need to be careful in left-handers. And I'm not the only person who's had this. It's a common thing that most people have probably done at least once in the class. So after the crash, I didn't think we were going to go out. And I think, if I'm honest, I kind of hoped we wouldn't, because I think I already knew at that point I was spent. But the guys did such an amazing effort to get the bike ready. They took it down it had to be re-inspected after the crash. The guys, pit lane's only open for 5 minutes before the race. The guys took the bike down. They left the tent to go down to tech inspection 10 minutes before pit lane opened, and they got back literally 1 minute before it closed. So they managed to. We were at the opposite end of the pits to the tech base, so they managed to push the bike down there, get it inspected, and push it back in time with 1 minute to spare. I was still putting my boots on and thinking it was a token effort that we wouldn't get it back in time. I was still putting my boots on when they got back, and when I saw them coming back, I was like, let's get the boots on. So I literally jumped on that bike with the pit lane only open for another minute. They'd already gone out and done a sighting lap, so I couldn't go out and do that. I had cold tyres. They hadn't been on tyre warmers the whole time after quali, because we were just sorting the bike out. So I had to do a warm-up lap on cold tyres. I managed to get, I think on the third or fourth corner, I sort of tried to open the gas up a bit just to see where we're at. It started squirming around, so it wasn't great, but I just tried to get as much gradual heat into the tyres over the rest of the lap as I could. If I'm honest, I think by the end of the first lap, the tyres were probably pretty much up to temperature. But just as we were about to start the race, I realised we hadn't put any fuel in either, because we'd been so focused on getting the bike just ready, we forgot to do the fuel. Somehow I managed to finish the race. It did actually start coughing on the in lap after the race. So I just rolled off and sort of cruised it in as best I could, and I just about had enough fuel to tickle it back into pits and into the Parc Fermé. I guess I was thinking part of my performance on the Saturday was down to just that hurried kind of preparation. No tire warmers, realizing there's no fuel. I mean, at one point in that race, probably 3 or 4 laps in, I was thinking I may as well just pull in. I know I haven't got enough fuel. Then I got to like 4 or 5, and I thought, well, I wasn't really near anyone, so I thought if I run out of fuel, it's not going to be a danger to anyone. I can just roll off the track somewhere. Somehow it made it. Obviously, we were quite conservative with our fueling because it just about had enough to make it through the race. I just didn't really have anything left on the Saturday more. I could stick with the pack for the first 2, maybe 3 laps, but then once you kind of lose once you kind of lose them, it's really hard to then sort of motivate yourself to, especially when you're that tired, to really fight. So I think that I already knew at that point I was flagging and my fitness wasn't great. But as I say, thought got a night to recover. There's only 2 sessions the next day, which are the 2 races. I haven't got any long test sessions or anything like that. So the idea was to just get up Sunday and just go for it again, which we did. Did the last chance qualifier race, and I just didn't have anything left. I probably managed to hang on to people a bit longer in the race, and there were a couple of crashes, and there were other people who pulled out during that race just from exhaustion. So kind of when I sort of discovered that's why they were pulling out, and it kind of made me feel a bit better about my decision. At least I wasn't the only one pulling out because they weren't fit enough. So yeah, I kind of knew at the end of the last chance qualifier race I wasn't going to be fit enough. I think both my heart and my head were saying that you're not fit enough to do it. As I say, I've taken you through all that decision making already. So yeah. Massive learning experience. Nothing. If I'm honest, the event I did at Thruxton last year, I was riding within myself. Because I wasn't riding my own bike, I was riding a higher bike. It was my first go at it. What did work in my favour though was at Thruxton was it probably is a track that suits my riding style. So that maybe flattered the sort of my results slightly. But I did have, I had in the back of mind I wasn't pushing 100%. So one could weigh out the other. I think this year the level has improved because there aren't a lot of new people at the back. A lot of the new people are people like James Ellison and Sam West, Derek Shields. You've got some really fast pro racers in there. There isn't really anyone new who's kind of at my level. Those who I was racing with and being competitive against last year, they've obviously had another half season to improve. So they are better than they were at Thruxton. I've spent the winter recovering from a broken ankle and broken elbow and bruised hip as well. So I've not been able to work out in the same way I would normally. And consequently, I just wasn't fit enough. So all my joints and limbs were all strong enough. I just wasn't fit enough. So we've got Alton Park coming up next weekend. I have been doing some more physio and I've started working out towards the end of this week. I couldn't work out at the beginning of the week, so I was still recovering from Spain, but I will be working out. But I think there's a limit to how much I can do before Alton. Hopefully, having done Spain though, I'll be a bit more bike fit for Alton. And there's a lot less track time at Alton, so I won't be wearing myself out doing 40-minute testing sessions. I do know Alton a little bit. It's not my best track. I've only been there 3 times, so it's not the track I know the best. But at least I know it, and I'll be a bit fitter. So hoping to do a bit better at Alton. Not expecting to improve massively, but at least it'd be nice um, to feel fit enough to start the main race at least, if we get that far. So being positive but realistic for Alton, we've then got 2 months after Alton before round 3 at Donington. So even if Alton is not a roaring success, relatively speaking, I've got a couple of months to get a lot fitter for Donington round 3. And Donington's one is, well, it's probably my favourite track. So I guess in terms of my hopes and aspirations, I'm kind of aiming for Donington in July. But I'm hoping to do a lot better at Alton next weekend. Anyway, I've rambled on enough about this. Thank you. I'm just going to say a big thank you to Rob, Ian, and John for coming over to Spain with me and supporting me. They were fantastic at at supporting me with everything I needed to do, getting tyres changed, filling up the fuel, doing setup, repairing the bike. Both changing wheel bearings. Thank goodness I had Ian with us because he knew how to do that with minimal tools. And thank goodness for John and Rob who did the tyres and fuel and were on it. So thanks again to the guys for coming out with me, and thank you to all of those who've donated to the GoFundMe. Yeah, and I will do another report after Alton.